Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing today? Hello, hello, hello. Hey, folks. So, if you are just joining us, welcome to the Offer Breakthrough Workshop. Who has been here before? I know that we have some people who came to the first workshop but are coming back for a second round because they've got a new offer that they're working on, which is super cool. Anybody, if that's the case for you, that you've been here before? Oh, chat is disabled. Let me fix that right quick here. Um, Dun, dun, dun. Thanks for letting me know, folks. I'm just fixing that, figuring out why chat is not on. Dun, dun, dun. Give me one moment. I'm going to put my camera off and I'll be right back. I'm going to figure out why the chat's not on. I'll be right back. Okay, folks, I think that it should be fixed. I just changed it. Let me see. I may need to pop out. I don't know why that cha setting was changed because we did not change that on our um, everyone. Try again. See if you can chat now. Yay! Thank you, Tamara. Amazing. I don't know why that was disabled because we did not change that setting, but you know what? If Zoom isn't going to screw you up on an important session, then you're just like way too lucky, and that never happens to me. So I feel like Zoom hell is something we're all far too familiar with at this point. So welcome, everyone. So we're going to get right into it. This is just not one of those like random webinars on how to make money on the internet. It's about fundamentally changing how you approach your business. And if you want to build a new revenue stream, but you've been feeling really stuck, then I want you to leave here today feeling clear and excited and have an idea that you're actually ready to launch and excited about testing with your audience. I see a bunch of familiar names and faces in the chat. Welcome, y'all. Welcome. Okay, so there are only three certainties in life. And I've been around the block enough to recognize these. And this is what they are: death, taxes, and smart people like y'all overthink too much. You agonize over your own business stuff. And even though you can deliver banging results for your clients, you often struggle when it comes to doing your own stuff. Who here is going to resonate with that? Because I can tell you that absolutely rings true for me. For client work, it's so easy. You can see everything so clearly. And as soon as you sit down to do your own stuff, it's like, oh my God. So here's the thing though. As y'all know, overthinking is expensive. You could be sitting on a multi-million dollar idea, and every day that you don't take action, it's costing you money. It's costing you money that could be in your pocket. So this whole workshop is designed to help you get unstuck fast so you can take action. Okay, so as we're waiting for people to pile in, let's kick things off with a quick quiz. I want to know what is going on in your world right now that motivated you to sign up for today's workshop. Y'all know that I'm a research nerd and I always want to know what's going on under the surface that makes people make a decision. So Tamara's launching a new business. Congratulations. Too many ideas, too little follow through. My God, let me tell you, that feels familiar. So these are all really awesome answers. We say insights to sell, but struggling, maxed out on clients, ready to scale. I've been in your shoes. And thank you for sharing these stories because this is actually going to help me, both to help you, but also help me in my marketing. Because here's the thing, you've shared very specific problems and trigger events that pushed you into the buying journey and ultimately led you to buying this workshop. And smart marketers, we don't just target specific target markets. We target specific moments. This is really important in the early days when you're trying to generate demand for a new product. So it's not just about who you target. It's about getting in front of people at the right moment. So don't just decide who is going to buy from me. Think when might somebody need a solution like more ours. And we're going to talk more about this in our second workshop. So you're here today because you are on a mission. You want to add a new revenue stream to your business, something that's more scalable, something that's highly profitable, something that generates predictable revenue, something that's less dependent on your time or expertise to deliver, something where you can kind of step back and still see the business growing. Does this sound right? Is this the situation you're in right now? Because Dr. Celia says yes. Okay, yes, perfect. You are in the right place because you've probably tried to launch a product on your own maybe before, maybe something that didn't sell as hoped. Maybe you've even been sitting on a big idea for years and you felt stuck in analysis paralysis. That's going to end today. So we're going to bulldoze through all that kind of BS that's sitting in your head right now, all that stuff that's keeping you stuck. And we don't want you to get mired in self-doubt. No more worrying if you're doing it right. I'm going to force you to get out of your own head and into your prospective buyers' heads. And you're going to learn how to find painful problems that people will pay premium prices to solve. So if you're running a service-based business and you're feeling trapped in that kind of like feast or famine, client work, bespoke, always everything's new every time. This workshop is for you. So you already have the skills and the expertise. That could be, you need to package it into something that's more scalable. You need a system to figure out what that something could be though, right? Because if you didn't need the system, if you were already figured this out, you wouldn't be here. You're here because you know that you've got the goods in your brain. You need to package it into something people want to buy. And I can help because I have been in your shoes. So I've been running my business now for almost 15 years and I've launched and sold agencies. I've been called a must-watch entrepreneur by Forbes. And I built a VC-backed tech company, something that Inc. magazine said was the next LinkedIn for women. And guess what? That didn't work out as planned. And I'm going to share that story with you as well. But I want to save you from making some of the mistakes that I've made along this journey. So today I run a small media and education company. I built a small but mighty team. And I originally was able to scale this business to 7 figures as a solopreneur and a new mom. And I did that because I figured out how to build products people actually want to buy. And I figured it out through painful trial and error. And the last 4 products that we launched generated a cumulative 1.8 million in sales. So in 2 years. So I know how to do this stuff and I want to help you avoid the mistakes that I have myself have made. So I didn't pour money into ads. I didn't hire expensive agencies that did all of the work for us. Our revenue, it came mostly through organic marketing. And I'm not telling you this to brag. I want you to know that my goal is to inspire you, to know that no matter how big your dream is right now, they are possible. Okay, so back to what we're going to walk away with today. So here is my promise to you. You're going to walk away with a smarter idea for a scalable offer people actually want to pay for. And this is a hands-on workshop. So I'm going to guide you through a series of exercises, and each one of these exercises builds on the one before it. So first, we're going to talk about the number one mistake that smart people make when creating products, because I want you to avoid that mistake. I made this mistake and it cost me $1.1 billion, which I will share why with you shortly. Then we're going to explore the different types of content and scalable offers that you can create. And we're going to do a quick and dirty brainstorm of an offer idea. So we're not going to go into the weeds, but we're going to think about something at a high level. Then we're going to uncover the motivations that actually drive purchase decisions. And we're going to talk about who your potential buyers might be for your offer. And finally, this is the part that I think you're really going to love. We're going to do some rapid painstorming. We're going to dig deep into the painful problems that your potential buyers are going to pay to solve. And we're going to do all this in under 2 hours. So you're going to walk away from here in our first workshop with real clarity on the problem. Then in our next workshop, we're going to get focused on designing the right solution. Okay, so luckily you are not going to be working alone because this sounds like a lot to do, right? So this is Sparky. Sparky is your trusty AI-powered workshop buddy. He's going to help you to rapidly brainstorm, to spot patterns, to complete exercises faster. And technically speaking, Sparky is a series of custom GPTs built into ChatGPT. Each individual GPT was built with a specific purpose to help you do a specific exercise. So you're going to need your free ChatGPT account to use these bots, and there are links to your ChatGPT bots inside of your workbook. Okay, so speaking of your workbook, I'm going to share access to this to you now, and I'm going to walk you through it. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now. And there's also, you can see a how do I make this sticky? There's also a direct link right on the slide here, so you can see if you want to just go to it directly in your browser. It's at https :// bit.ly/ob workbook. So you can find it that way. Thank you, Rodney. So you can grab it that way. Now I'm going to show you how to unlock this workbook because right now it's currently locked and you're going to have to unlock it so that you can save a copy of it to your Google Drive. So here's how that works. I can see that some folks are in here now. You just go to File and you go to Save, Make a Copy. And you can name it if you want, or you can just keep the name as it is. But what's going to happen is this will save a copy of it to your Google Drive, and that copy will be editable. So the copy you see now is not editable. You can't actually add anything to it. You can just read it. But once you go to File, Make a Copy, it'll save an editable version to your desktop. If you are a Google Docs user, easy peasy. I'll drop the link again, no problem. You can just edit it in Google Docs. If you are like some people and you prefer using Word to do your documents, I'm going to show you how to do that. So, I sent that link to everyone, to myself and to Jordan as opposed to everyone. There we go. Everyone should see the link now. If you are somebody who prefers to use Microsoft Word or whatever the Apple version of it is, I think I'm blanking on what their word processing one is, but you can go to download and you can download it as a Microsoft Word document and open it that way. Pages, thank you folks, Pages, yeah. So if you download it as Microsoft Word doc, you can also open that in Pages. So you don't have to use Google Docs, but if you already use it, easy peasy. Okay, so I'm going to show you specifically how this document works so that you know what to do. So right now you're seeing my screen and you can see that there are multiple exercises. We're only going to do the exercises for workshop 1 today. We're not going to jump ahead to the ones from workshop 2 because I'm going to walk you through stuff for that next time when we meet next week. So the first exercise, there's no bot. The second exercise, there's the option to chat with a bot. And I'm going to open this up in ChatGPT so you can see it. And each bot that you get to interact with will ask you a few clarifying questions. And these questions will help it to craft the right answer. Now, you go and you click on Let's Get Started, and you'll see that the bot will ask you a specific question. So what I want you to really understand, because I did a poor job of explaining this last time. We don't need to get into the weeds of this. I'm not going to go through this with you. But in your workbook, each of these buttons represents a different bot. So if I click and I open this one, that's a different bot. So rather than continuing the conversation with just the one ChatGPT bot, I want to make sure that each time you see one of these buttons in your workbook, you click on it and you open up the new bot that you're going to work with. This is going to be important because each of these bots has been custom built specifically for that exercise. It has a lot of kind of like training to help you do that exercise faster and more efficiently. So we want to make sure that we use each one individually. Okay, so don't worry about getting started in your workbook. There's nothing you need to start on yet. I'm going to give you direction for each exercise before I'll assign it to you. So you don't need to get started yet. So before we move forward, is there anybody who's had an issue grabbing their workbook or any questions about it? If you have any questions, this is a great time to ask them. All right, it looks like we're all good. We're ready to move forward. Let's get going. So we're actually going to go to our first exercise. And in this one, we're going to talk about you. So I want to know what inspired you to decide to build something new? What is actually going on in your business? What's the underlying goal? So there might be problems that you discover over the next two workshops that you're well positioned to solve. But if you're anything like me, you can probably come up with a bunch of different ideas and offers that you could design. But I don't want you to go all in on an idea for an offer that doesn't actually align with your goal with your business. So let's talk about that. Let's get clear on your actual goal because there might be a lot of different ways that you can get to the same destination. But if we don't clarify where we're going from out of the gate, then you can't get there. So, what is your underlying goal? Maybe you want to transition out of your current business eventually. So, you want to build a new revenue stream that's complementary but separate from your current business. If that's you, shout it out in the comments. Or maybe you want to build a new offer that's more valuable for your clients and requires less of your effort and time to deliver. So that might be that you want to be able to charge more without working with more clients. You want to charge more while making less. So if that's you, shout it out. Or maybe you want to use a new offer to solve a small problem for your perfect clients so that they realize that you can help them, they get a quick win, and then they want to continue working with you on something that's maybe more expensive, one of your more premium offerings. You can use this workshop for that too. And if that's you, shout it out in the comments. So candidly, that was my goal when I originally designed this workshop. So I created Painkiller, which is a messaging system to help time crunch entrepreneurs fix their product messaging so they could sell more of their existing products. And it's working. Close to 800 people have bought the system and they've given it a 4.9 rating. But after I launched it, I learned something that was quite surprising. I learned that a lot of the people who bought Painkiller hadn't actually launched their product yet. They bought it because they were trying to figure out their messaging for a new product that they were working on. And others had bought it, but they then went, or sorry, others had built a product, but then they went through the process of actually doing the competitive analysis and doing the research that we recommend in Painkiller. And they had a painful realization. They ended up building the wrong thing. So I know how painful that is. And Offer Breakthrough was really the first step. We wanted to make sure that people went through the idea stage with an offer that solved a painful problem because it's really impossible to come up with the right messaging if you haven't designed a product that solves the right problem. So I created this for people that were at that stage, and this will make sure that they're building solutions that solve the right problem. So my underlying motivation when I originally designed this workshop was to build trust with ideal buyers, use a low-cost solution to solve a painful problem for my target buyers, and deliver a quick win, earning their trust and priming them for my Painkiller messaging system. That was my goal. So I want you to get just as clear on your goal. I want you to say, what is your underlying goal? It's important that you think about how this offer is going to fit into your broader business and business strategy so you can tell the difference between an idea that sounds good, an idea that's actually good for you. So you're not going to need the Sparky bot for this one. I'm going to set the timer for 2 minutes. Before I do, Gina raised her hand with a question. Gina, is there something that I can answer for you? You can pop it in the chat. That's probably the best way to ask it. So I'll give Gina a second. What's the structure of the statement? You don't need to necessarily structure it. Just think like you'll see a couple examples in the workshop document. So just think what's going on. Like if you had to explain why you're launching a new offer, again, maybe it is to raise demand for a product that you're like, for a new product that you want to expand your business. Maybe it's to solve a small problem for your ideal target buyers and thus build their trust and kind of talk them into buying your bigger thing. So Gina, no problem at all. So just decide what makes sense for you. So I'm going to start the timer for 2 minutes. Um, Victoria's already on top of it. Amazing. Okay, so Victoria's just posted a great example in the chat there. So get clear on what your goal is because that's going to help us as we want to shape your offer. Starting the timer now. We've got folks sharing their offers in the chat, which is awesome, which was the next thing I was going to ask you to do. And to answer a few questions, Giselle, I don't think yours is too detailed at all. I think it's great. You're really clear on what you're trying to build an offer for. And Alex, your offer statement absolutely makes sense. So that's what you want to do. So we want to make sure that as we design your offer, we're framing it the right way. You said that you wanted to attract clients who are higher net worth that are willing to pay a premium price for services and expect that the pricing will be premium before they even reach out for initial contact. So we're going to have to be thoughtful about that as we design your offer so that we know we're attracting the right people. And we're going to do that through these workshops. So these are looking really good. Please go ahead and share yours in the chat if you want to. Amber says she wants to break into the luxury real estate market in an innovative way so people will feel that working with me is no brainer. I love that. Brad says create an easy path for people to experience my business coaching, one without hard selling. Very, very good. So everyone's getting clear on what their underlying motivation is to do this. So now let's talk about some mistakes that you can avoid that I have made so you don't have to. So these are some of the painful errors that I made, and I want to share them with you so you can avoid making them yourself. So you've probably come across this common advice if you've been in the world of online business. There's this saying that says, make something people want. And of course, this is really true, but it's also annoyingly unhelpful because everybody wants to build products that people want. The hard part is figuring out exactly how to do that. Looks like Monica's raised her hand. So, Monica, if you have a question, you just let us know right in the chat, and I'll make sure to answer that for you. So yeah, it's hard to figure out what people want, right? And 95% of new products fail in the first 2 years, which really sucks. And there's a reason. And the reason they fail is because many entrepreneurs start in the wrong place. So let me just scroll up and find Monica's question. She added it above, and it looks like there was a lot of stuff maybe added on top of it. Um, mm, Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I'm scrolling too quickly. One sec here. Monica, I don't know how to do this without doing one-on-one. I want to build to a one-to-many model where I help people build signature talks and use their personal speaking to grow their business. I love that. You have clarity on what you want to do, and now the goal will be figuring out what the offer is, right? And so now we can think about if you know clearly you've been doing it one-to-one, doing it one-to-one is not going to get you the business outcomes that you want. It's not going to provide the lifestyle that you want. Let's talk about coming up with a solution that will work in more of a one-to-many environment. There's lots of folks who have had success with this. Some of my friends and like past clients that went through my unignorable challenge have built amazing speaking businesses that aren't doing just one-to-one. So it can absolutely be done, and we're going to help you figure out how. Okay, so people make mistakes. They build things backwards. And this is what often happens, right? Entrepreneurs start with what they want to sell rather than the problem that they should solve. And oftentimes they will jump straight to thinking about the format of their offer. And I want to like save you guys from doing this. So they'll go, "Oh, I want to create an online course, or I'll launch a group coaching program, or I'll build an app, or maybe we'll launch a community." And all of these can be excellent ways to build scalable offers, but it's actually putting the cart way before the horse because you don't actually know what the problem you're solving is before you choose the format. And this is a big mistake. So I've seen entrepreneurs spend months, sometimes even years when it comes to software, creating stuff that no one wants. I made that mistake. So worse, they end up creating something that they get some customers only to discover that the solution doesn't actually solve the problems that those people were focused on. So this is a painful mistake, and I've made it. I made $1 billion mistake that eventually led me to going personally bankrupt. And I want to share this story with you. So back in 2014, I had recently sold my restaurant consulting agency and I was building an agency, a branding agency that was growing fast. And there was this small problem, which was that I was sick of the feast and famine agency life, right? A lot of us can probably relate here if you work in, if you do bespoke client work. So I was sick of demanding clients who had all these unrealistic expectations. I was burned out and I was feeling a bit desperate. And I foolishly bought into this whole big promise that you see plastered all over the internet, which is like, stop selling your time for money. And I committed to building a digital product. Now, side note, you can sell services in a scalable way. So, particularly today, you always had been able to, but it took a lot of systems and really thinking things through. But now with AI, there's new opportunities for service-based businesses to deliver their services in a more scalable way. And I'm going to share some examples of both that to inspire you. So back to my story. I committed to building something new. I had an idea for a peer-to-peer marketplace for entrepreneurs, and being a smart marketer, I decided that I was going to niche down. After all, the riches are in the niches, right? And so I decided to focus just on women entrepreneurs. And we got to work. I built a team. I raised venture capital. We built our app. And a year later, we launched Vendive. And Vendive was a peer-to-peer business platform specifically for women entrepreneurs building online businesses. Great niche, right? And Inc. magazine called us the LinkedIn for women entrepreneurs. And we attracted thousands of users, and there was huge hype around it. And there was also this massive problem, which was that we built the wrong product for the wrong people. So we targeted entrepreneurs who were new. They desperately needed a lot of help because they were pretty inexperienced and they wanted to get new clients, but they often couldn't afford to hire each other. And they had endless questions, but few valuable answers to offer to their peers. So our platform, it wasn't working. Users would sign up, they created profiles, they would post a few times, and then they would vanish. There were glimmers of hope, but there really wasn't enough for us to keep going. And eventually, I made the really painful decision to shut it down. And that hurt. And then it got worse because a year after we shut it down, another company launched with a eerily similar concept. So Chief was also a peer-to-peer network for women entrepreneurs, and there was this big difference. Chief targeted C-suite women leaders and VP women, not beginners like us. And they offered a solution to a painful problem. So senior women executives often face genuine isolation in the corporate world. And they had very few peers who understood their challenges. And they weren't stressing about how am I going to make the first dollar in my business. They had these big, hairy, expensive business problems that they were trying to solve. And they were really hungry for a perspective from somebody who actually got their situation. And today, Chief is worth $1.1 billion. and Vendiv is dead. So at a high level, these two businesses, they looked very similar. Both were peer-to-peer communities for women entrepreneurs. Both included small group coaching calls and an online community. But here's where the mistake was made. Chief gave connection to leaders who needed peers, right? That's Chief gave people what they needed. Meanwhile, Vendiv gave community to beginners who needed revenue. We weren't solving the right problem for them. And I learned a powerful lesson. And that's that it's not enough to build what you want to sell. It's not enough to niche down. Niching down is not going to save you if you build the wrong product. So here's where the problem up method differs from your typical niche down advice. You don't start with a solution, then try to find a narrow audience to sell it to. You start by figuring out the progress that people are trying to make and what's keeping them stuck. Then you focus on building solutions that solve that specific problem. So it's about understanding when somebody might need a solution like yours and why other solutions aren't working for them. What are the problems that they're not being solved with these other solutions so that you can design the right thing, not just obsessing about what you want to sell or who you want to sell it to. So as Steve Jobs wisely said, you've got to start with the customer's needs and work backwards to the product. You can't start with the product and try to figure out where you're going to sell it. I've made this mistake and I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And let me tell you, I have that scar tissue too. So you must solve a profitable problem for the right people, and you need to understand the context of your target buyer's goals, their pains, what's going on in their world, and that is how you can make something people want. So you can, if you get this right, you can design products that people will pay a premium for. And for many people, working your way up to charging a premium is going to be the right strategy. So let me talk you through this. As I tease, there are many ways to build a scalable business, and this is particularly true in the age of AI. But I see too many smart people who are trying to think that there's only one way to scale a business, and that's by selling things like low cost digital products. And those can be great options, but they're certainly not the only options. The other option that's pretty common is that if you want to sell things that are like, tools or software, they're volume plays, right? So you need a large audience to be able to actually make a meaningful living if you're trying to sell low cost things. Tamara's made this mistake. It's a really common one. I see people making it all the time. So what it means is that if you're trying to sell these low cost things, you need a lot of customers to grow and you need a large audience that trusts you. And that's really valuable and you should work on building that. But out of the gate, it's not necessarily the right way to build a scalable business. So unless you're independently wealthy, chances are you'll want to sell something that's premium and high ticket. And that could be something you charge a lot of money for one time or something that generates recurring revenue. So let me share some examples with you. Let's explore how 4 different entrepreneurs design different solutions related to the same problem space. So these people all have solutions around help me to build a profitable personal brand. So this is a space I'm interested in. And each of these businesses could make $3 million with their solution, but their path to getting there is going to look very different. So let's look at them. So Justin Welsh, who knows Justin? Justin sells a $150 online course about how to build a brand on LinkedIn. And I'm sure it's a great course. And he's generated millions of dollars from that course. But he also had to get 20,000 people to buy the course for him to make $1 million. That's a lot of people, right? That's a lot of trust, a lot of content, a lot of focusing on building his audience to get to that money. Sahil Bloom, he's the co-founder of Alto Studios, and it's a ghostwriting agency for executives. Now, their clients, they pay $5,000 a month for completely done for you content, and they only need 50 clients to commit to a 1-year subscription to get to 3 million. So Justin was having to do 20,000 sales. Sahil's ghostwriting agency, they need 50 clients to stick with them for a year, right? Completely different. And Alex Lieberman. So Alex is the co-founder of Morning Brew, and he recently launched Distro. And Distro is this AI-powered tool, and it promises to kind of turn your rambling thoughts into content. I haven't used it, so I don't know how good it is. But their plans start at $29 a month. So Alex needs to have 8,500 customers to stick around for a full year if they wanted to make 3 million. And guess what? If you've done anything in software, you know that no software user sticks around for a full year. So realistically, they probably need closer to like 18,000 customers to actually hit 3 million. Another example is Stella Bloomfield. So she's the founder of Flow Inc., and it's a productized agency that helps entrepreneurs to get more leads and newsletter subscribers through LinkedIn by sharing lead magnet content. So Stella's team, they handle everything from creating the lead magnet to writing a LinkedIn post promoting the lead magnet, building an opt-in page for your thing, and writing an email sequence. So they kind of do all the heavy lifting. Now, Flowcharge charges between $1,900 and $5,000 a month, depending on which plan you choose. And they say that the average client has to commit for 3 months, right? So, doing some rough math, FlowLink needs 200 customers in a year for them to get to 3 million. So, these are three different types of businesses. They all use automation, they all use AI tools to streamline their business. Each of these businesses is scalable, but they have different challenges they need to overcome to grow. So Justin needs a massive audience to make his model work, while Sawhill needs to hire experienced ghostwriters, and those people are really hard to find. So no model is necessarily better than the other one. They're just different and they have different problems. Now, let me ask you, which of these business models actually looks the most attractive to you based on your business and where things are for you today? Which one might be something that would be a good fit? Stella's, right? The high ticket Stella. So, like, when you think about a scalable offer, the reason that I created this workshop, and I'm not just like, here's how to build an online course or here's how to like launch a community, is like all of those are options. The right option for you comes down to the problem that you want to solve for your customers. And there are different models and different routes for you to get there. So the takeaway here is any business can be scalable, but not every scalable model will be profitable for you. So choose the model that makes sense for where your business is today. If you already have a large audience and you're okay with doing something where you're going to have to do a volume play like Justin, great. But I think a lot of you probably aren't in that place. And if not, then that's not the path for you. It's going to end in a lot of work and not a lot of revenue. So you're committed to making something people want. You're ready to focus on customers putting their needs first. Let's talk about your big idea. So I'm sure you already have an idea for what your offer could look like. If you didn't, you probably wouldn't be here. And maybe you've already started building something and you got stuck. Or maybe you have too many ideas. Is that you? That is me. So the process of narrowing it down and actually choosing one specific idea to focus on, that might feel really impossible. And maybe you're just genuinely stumped. Like you know what your business does, but you have no idea what kind of product or service to create that might complement your current business rather than compete with it, which is a challenge for people. And that's okay. We're going to help you with like that problem too. So to do this, what we're going to work through is this process that comes from kind of the design thinking world. It's called diverge and converge. So first, we're going to explore the problem space and we're going to come up with lots of different ideas, right? We're going to learn a lot about the problem space. And then we're going to zero in on specific problems that you're interested in solving, and we'll explore different solutions that you might be able to build and converge on a specific idea to test. So to get started, you'll choose a potential offer idea to explore. So it could be an offer idea that complements your current business. It could be something completely new and different, and it's going to be a standalone offer. So for instance, a copywriter who is currently offering a variety of copywriting services, they might want to launch a new standalone offer. Maybe it could be done for you email funnels for vet clinics that promote healthy maintenance services, right? So like teeth cleaning and tick vaccines. So they'd work just with vet clinics and they'd help them sell these healthy maintenance services. It would help vets get recurring revenue, and vets would, want to pay for this because they have the pain of inconsistent revenue that's based on emergency visits. So that could be a standalone offer for a copywriter to test. You could also consider doing something that's complementary to what you already do. So a graphic designer, maybe they would want to sell a new service to their existing clients. So maybe they've worked with their clients on like rebranding their website, and they can go back to those clients and say, hey, if you're trying to build your personal brand too, I could help you to create assets to share on social media and that match the brand work we've already done for your website. So that could be a complementary offer. So these, it doesn't have to be something totally new. It can be something complementary to what you do today. So it's time to come up with a big idea. And I want you to quickly explain your idea using a simple framework. You just want to say what it is and what will it help customers do. You do not need to overthink it. You're not committing to anything yet. We're actually going to explore a lot of details around the problems in this space. And you're going to walk out of here with an offer that probably looks very different than the one you originally came in with. So we're going to refine it. You might even pivot completely. So that's what actually happened to me. So when I started working on this workshop, my plan was not to build a workshop. It was to create a fillable buyer profile template and a series of GPTs that helped entrepreneurs to find their best fit buyers for their underperforming products or services. But as I got into the painstorming process that we're going to do today, I actually ended up pivoting. And that's why I ended up moving towards a live workshop and AI tools to help entrepreneurs rapidly brainstorm ideas for a scalable offer idea. So it completely changed once I got into painstorming because I started to see, oh, there are problems here that I think are going to be far more profitable problems that are going to attract the type of people that I want to attract, who are generally entrepreneurs who have been in this for a while. They're not complete newbies. They have something that's working, but they're ready to, they've outgrown it and they're ready to do business in a new way. So if you already have an offer idea, you can use that one. And if you don't have an idea yet, there is a Sparky tool that you can brainstorm with. So you can drop the URL of your website, or you can put a screenshot of your LinkedIn profile, and Sparky will help you to ask you a few more questions and help you to generate some scalable ideas. So your job is going to be narrowing it down to one idea to explore in the workshop. Again, these ideas, they might not be awesome yet. The goal of the workshop is to refine them and make them better. So think of this as your beginning point for problem exploration. And you're not committing it to anything. By the end of this workshop, this is probably going to look totally different. So you're going to have 6 minutes for this exercise. Before we get started, does anybody have any questions? All good. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to start the timer now. You've got 6 minutes. Awesome. So there's a great question that came in while you were doing the exercise. Um, I also had a bite of my lunch because I was trying to sneak it in. I tried to eat beforehand, but I have a dog staying. We're dog sitting our friend's dog, and he pulled a plant and put it all over the house. So it's like, oh no! So they tried to get him into his crate uh, and eat beforehand. It didn't happen. But anyway, side story. A great question came in from Sylvis. She asked, what do you think about a strategy of selling many small digital products? They can buy one, then another, then another. I would say that theoretically, I like it. It can be hard to execute that. So you want to make sure that each of your products, if you do it that way, would then naturally lead to the next one because you've solved one problem for them, which then opens up the next problem. And in doing that, you can move people from kind of product to product, and some folks see a lot of success with that. You still may need a fairly sizable audience. So it's if you don't have a large audience, I'd say I'd sooner see you do kind of like a productized service where you help people to get that outcome than having a number of individual products. You also need to support and market all of those products, which can become challenging. Ask me how I know. I have done that in my own business. We've got now four kind of products, and they all are interconnected, but I didn't do the best job of like really being strategic about each one. I just had an idea and I built it. And I would not recommend that because it leads to a lot more complexity in the back end of your business, and it can cause some messaging confusion too. So that's my take. I think it can be executed really well, but it can also bring some unforeseen challenges. Um, Okay, so time's up. Did people come up with a idea that they're excited about sharing? You don't have to go ahead and share it in the chat, but if you'd like to, maybe you could find your first customers in the room. So go ahead if you want to share your idea, but if you want to keep it close to the vest because you're still in discovery mode, then that's cool too. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that people enjoyed the bot. Okay, so now we're going to go on to exploring one of the most powerful frameworks for understanding why people really buy products. It's called Jobs to be Done or Jobs Theory, and it's going to completely change the way you think about market demand. So I didn't learn about jobs until after my tech company failed. And I truly believe if I would have understood the real job our users were trying to get done, I may have been able to build the right solution like Chief did and save myself a lot of pain. So, who here is already familiar with jobs to be done? Looks like Mandela is saying Mr. Clayton, that's right. It is a theory for understanding what motivates people to buy products and services. So, the core insight, it's really deceptively simple. People don't buy products and services because of who they are. They buy things because they have a specific job they're trying to get done. So people buy things because they want to make their life better. They want to make progress, but they're struggling because there's an obstacle in their way, a problem. So they hire products to help them overcome those obstacles and get their job done. If the solution that they hire works, they're going to keep using it. They're going to tell their friends about it. And if it doesn't work, or if their circumstances change, they'll fire the product and find something new to hire. So Job Theory was co-created by a number of people, one of whom was Clayton Christensen. And he is a Harvard business professor. He passed away sadly. And he was known as one of the world's foremost experts on innovation. So when Fortune 500 CEOs needed to innovate, they would come to him. And according to Clay, after decades of watching great companies fail, we've come to the conclusion that focus on correlation, on knowing more and more about customers, is taking businesses in the wrong direction. What they really need to home in on is the progress the customer is trying to make in a given context. This is what we've come to call the job to be done. So when you understand the job your customer is really trying to get done, you can design solutions they didn't even know to ask for, but will gladly pay for. And many big companies are using and implementing jobs theory in their business today. But you do not need to be a $1 billion company to use this $1 billion idea. You can see that little logo right there. That's us. This workshop evolved from a deep understanding of the jobs our customers are trying to get done. When you focus on the job customers are trying to get done, rather than on you want to sell, you can, or who you just want to sell it to, you can design painkiller offers. So this is why I push back on the typical advice to niche down. Choosing a very narrow target buyer haphazardly can actually lead you in the wrong direction. Attributes describe who customers are, but not why they actually buy. So looking at King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne, the late Ozzy Osbourne. They were the same age, they were the same gender, they had the same income. They were demographically really similar, but you wouldn't assume that they buy in the same way, right? Or they have the same shopping preferences. Probably not. On the flip side, imagine you're selling a 48-hour teeth whitening kit. Your customers could include a soon-to-be bride or an 80-year-old widower going on his first date in 50 years. Demographically, these buyers look very different, but they share the same job to be done. They want to brighten their smile before an event happening this week. So here's the important thing that you want to make note of. Jobs to be done can really help you to understand why people buy your products, but people sometimes get things, they get a little messed up. I'm not saying that you should run ads specifically towards 80-year-old men. That would probably be dumb. Obviously, young women who are in the prime of their dating life and who feel this immense pressure from social media to be seen as perfect, they're probably going to be better customers. But if you speak to the target moment, meaning the moment that somebody has an important social commitment coming up and they want to look their best, then both potential buyers could understand how your solution could help them get their job done. So that's what makes this stuff smart. So we're going to dig into this idea more in the lessons on choosing your target buyers. So when applying the jobs to be done framework, it's important to distinguish between jobs and desired outcomes. So a job describes what the customer is trying to get done. It's action driven, specific, and contextual. A desired outcome describes why they're doing it. It's their underlying motivation. So I want you to look at an example. Let's say that somebody's overarching job to be done is, I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 weeks. So their desired outcomes could be, so I can feel confident in my bikini on my beach vacation. So I can fit into the wedding dress I already paid for. So I can look amazing and make my ex feel like feel massive regret at our mutual friend's anniversary party, right? These are different desired outcomes, all with the same, all people who want different outcomes, all with the same job to be done. As marketers, you want to understand both the jobs and the desired outcomes because people tend to buy for emotional reasons and then justify with logic. So yes, you need to sell the dream outcome, but your product also needs to deliver on its promise. How many times have we bought things that sold us a dream that didn't deliver, right? So as a product designer, jobs are your starting point. When you define the job clearly, you can spot the painful problems that are holding people back and then help people to overcome those problems. That's where the money is. And that's what's going to help you to design a solution that actually gets them results. So pop quiz. Imagine you had this job to do. You want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 weeks. What are some challenges or problems that you might have? Shout these out in the comments. So what are problems or challenges that you'd have if you wanted to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 weeks? No time to work out. Chocolate. I love that one. Very relevant. Avoid losing muscle. No budget for good food. Family not supportive of diet. Yes, all of these are problems, right? Big, juicy problems. And these are the things that will hold people back. So some of the things that people might have said, I lack willpower and I overeat. My progress is slow and demotivating. Tracking calories is a hassle. And for somebody who's trying to lose weight, each of these problems represents a massive opportunity. And that's why the weight loss market is a $430 billion market because there's a lot of problems in it. So the more specific you are about the job your customer is trying to get done, the easier it's going to be to design the right solution. So going specific is better than saying broad. So common problems in the minds of customers, so let's assume the overarching job is to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 weeks. To do that, there are supporting jobs that they might need to get done. So overcoming problems relate, and to understand what those supporting jobs might be, oftentimes you can look at the problems people have and then kind of flip those into the supporting jobs. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So the painful problems here are, I lack willpower to overeat, counting calories is a hassle, I'm too busy to go to the gym. Well, if you flip those, you can actually see there are actually specific jobs there that people need to get done. Avoid temptation to overeat. That's a job people are trying to get done. Track my calorie intake quickly and accurately. That's a job they're trying to get done, a specific one. Fit regular exercise into my busy schedule. So when looking at the overarching job is great. It gives you kind of a broad thing to aim for, but it's really oftentimes in digging into those supporting jobs that you can find opportunities. So Looking at some opportunities. Look at Cal AI. So Cal AI helps you track calories. All you do is snap a photo and it will estimate the calories for you. And this company was started by two teenagers and it's making $8 million dollars a year. And when I was a teenager, I was making $8 an hour. So I cannot relate to that. But yeah, they found a very specific problem, helped people to get that job done, right? Help people to overcome that problem and get their job done. Peloton focused on fitting exercise into a busy schedule in life, and they built gamification and delight into their user experience to keep people motivated. And sometimes a new innovative product comes along that does the job so well that it can completely disrupt the market. So that's what happened when Ozempic came to the market. So after all, it's a lot easier to lose weight, the overarching job, when you're not very hungry. So context matters. When it comes to jobs to be done, people might choose completely different solutions for the same job depending on the context and their specific circumstances. So we're going to explore more about that when we talk about choosing your target buyers. So here's where things get exciting. Small jobs can be big opportunities. You can build a massive, successful business by doing one supporting job better than other solutions in a specific context, right? So Morning Brew, another great example. Morning Brew didn't succeed just because they targeted millennials in business. They succeeded because they understood their audience's job to be done. Their readers wanted to feel informed and up to speed on business news quickly and with less effort. So traditional newspapers like the Wall Street Journal, they also solved that same kind of like overarching job, helping people to stay informed. But Morning Brew, they understood the specific context better. They knew that busy professionals wanted business news that was digestible, engaging, and didn't feel like homework. They didn't want to dive deep into every world issue, and they didn't want to go hunting for information. What they wanted, their desired outcome, is they wanted to look smart to their friends and colleagues, right? That was their desired outcome, which Morning Brew uses in their marketing. And they've been using the same sales page since they started, and it really, or the same opt-in page, and it really works for them. So, getting clear on the reader's job to be done, Morning Brew was able to build a product that 4 million people hire every day. And they sold a stake in their business for $75 million. dollars. Meanwhile, the newspaper business is dying because they stopped understanding the job. They weren't innovating. So you're starting to see how powerful this stuff is. So you're going to work on writing a job statement. So let's talk about job statements. When you're writing a job statement, it should be action focused and specific. You can use this format. Help me, and then you say the verb, the thing they want help doing. And then you can say the object of the verb, so the thing that needs to get done. And then you can add context that's going to make it clear what the job is. So I'm going to show you some examples. Somebody might hire a copywriter with this specific job to do. Help me generate more revenue from my existing email list, right? By adding my existing email list, it's added context. It helps you to understand that job a little bit better. Now let's tweak the context and see how this might look different. Help me to generate reliable monthly revenue for my vet clinic without being reliant on emergency visits, which are sporadic and less lucrative. Okay, so that's some added context. That completely changes what a solution might look like in this space, right? This is kind of relevant to that vet example I shared earlier. So a good job statement focus on the progress the customer wants to make, not the specific solution they might use to get there. So you're not here today because you wanted to attend a workshop. Nobody wants to attend a workshop. They want to develop a skill that's going to enable them to get their real job done. And if they can skip the learning part and go straight to the result, that's even better. So now you're asking, what job might my customers really be trying to get done? If you are not sure, what I would do is I'd use the so that method. So take the thing that you do or sell, or the thing you're thinking about doing and selling, and say so that until you tease out their actual job. So it might look like this. I want to write email sequences so that I can sell to my list, so that I can generate revenue, so that I can have predictable income without constantly chasing new leads. So as you keep going on that kind of track, you come to a much better job statement that would look like this. Help me generate predictable revenue from my email list without constantly creating new content. So you've got a lot of details there. Imagine pitching a potential client. Now you're a lot clearer about what their job is. You can design a solution that's really going to work for them. Okay. That's Laura's asking a really great question. When I talk about a job statement, and this is a super important clarification, this is what your client's trying to get done, not what you're trying to get done. So jobs describe the thing your clients and customers want to do. not what your business, not what you want to do. Good. Thank you for asking that clarifying question. So that's actually what happened to me. So I was going through it, I was adding more context, and I knew from doing customer research that the overarching job that my like people for this workshop wanted to get done was they wanted to help me to scale my service-based business without hiring more team members or working more hours. That was kind of the overarching job. And that is a big, complex job, right? There's like how many different solutions could you design to help with that? And I want to deliver something that would feel like a quick win and it'll be a lower cost thing. So I broke that job down and I started looking at some of the more supporting jobs. So again, the overarching job that I discovered was help me scale my service-based business without hiring more team members or working more hours. Started looking at different solutions that they might different kind of supporting jobs that people might need to do to get that job done, which led me to this one. Help me develop a new scalable revenue stream for my existing business that sells, right? So I got into something much more specific than this very broad overarching one. I told you in the beginning, my original idea was help me identify specific buyers I should target to grow sales for an underperforming product. And the reason I decided not to create that solution, which was the solution idea I initially had, was I thought, hey, if somebody has an underperforming product and they don't really have clarity on who their buyers are, they may not be interested in spending more money on other things with us in the future because they're still in an earlier stage of their business. So maybe helping people who already have a business and it's working, but they want to launch something new, something more scalable, or like improve an element of their business, those would be better people to target because they're going to have more resources, more time, and be maybe more willing to invest in other things. So it was by exploring the problems that people had with these jobs that I actually came up with the design for this workshop. Okay, so this is your next exercise. You have a Sparky bot to help you with this, and he's going to ask you a few questions and then generate a number of different options for job statements and for overarching jobs and supporting jobs. And I'm going to want you to choose one of those jobs to focus on because we're going to explore it when we do painstorming. So what I mean by this is you're going to get help from Sparky on this. He's going to help you to brainstorm jobs your customers might be trying to get done. You're then going to make a short list. You're going to identify 2 to 5 jobs that align with your unique capabilities, things that get you excited. So you want to ask yourself, what are people already pay are people already paying to get this job done? Do I have expertise in this area? Am I passionate or curious about the job? And might I have a differentiated way to help with it? So those are going to be the things that are going to help you to make your short list. Now, this won't be an exact science. You're going to trust your gut and follow your curiosity. And we're going to get more methodical on this when we go to actually choosing your target audience. Victoria's asked me to replay. Absolutely. You'll get access to a replay, and everybody who bought the live workshop will also get an on-demand version of the workshop. That means that you can run through this again with another product or offer idea you have. You can share it with your team if you're working on something collectively. So that will be delivered the day after next week's workshop. Okay. And so the third thing you're going to do is you're going to choose one job to focus on. And so you might choose one meaty supporting job, or maybe you combine kind of like several different supporting jobs into a more refined overarching job, more refined overarching job. So maybe you look at the overarching job that's there and you go, I'm gonna that are presented to you, you go, you know what, none of these feel quite right, but I can take what I see here and I can kind of write my own overarching job. Okay, so don't worry about getting this perfect. As you understand your buyers and their context better, you're going to be able to refine your job statement and you can run through these exercises again with a different job statement and you'll see that you actually get completely different answers. So you're going to have 10 minutes of this exercise. Sparky is there to help you. Any questions before we get started? And Mary's asked, so do we base this on one of the offerings from our last Sparky session? Yes, Mary, you want to choose the one offer idea that you're going to explore to do painstorming on. Again, it doesn't mean that that's the thing you're going to end up building, but we're going to use that as inspiration. And we're probably going to walk away with a much different looking version of your original idea. And if you already had a main offer coming into the workshop, Matt, use that one. That sounds like the perfect thing to explore more of. So you can look at kind of maybe refining it. And the bot is called the Job Statement Refiner bot. That's it. Yeah. It's the one in your workbook. I'm just gonna scroll down. Oh, it's on page 5. Yeah, that's the one you're gonna use for this exercise. Okay, I'm gonna start the timer. Do you have a second email address? If so, you could create a second free account. That's a good question, Brad. We typically don't share our prompts since that's sort of the secret sauce, but we will share an opportunity to learn how we make the prompts. Awesome work, everyone. If you want to, you can share the job statement that feels like the right one with the group. You don't have to, but if you'd like to share, go ahead. And now we're going to talk about identifying potential target buyers. So, in this lesson, we're going to talk about how to identify the right buyers to target and how to avoid the wrong ones. As you know, people don't buy things because of who they are. They buy things because they have specific jobs they're trying to get done. And using the problem up method, you've already identified a valuable job people need to get done. Now we need to find people who feel an urgent need to get that job done and who will pay for solutions. So, for example, let's assume again that you wanted to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 weeks. People who are wealthy and time crunch, like maybe working parents, doctors, maybe entrepreneurs, have different problems than retired people or university students. So those people might choose a meal prep service because they can afford to fully outsource cooking. Or maybe they would choose to try Ozempic, which is expensive but apparently effective. People who work from home, like remote workers, homemakers, people who are recovering from an injury, they might find making a special trip to the gym is really inconvenient for them. And maybe they're going to look for a home fitness solution like a Peloton or hiring a professional trainer to come to them. So the same job to be get done, but different contexts and different solutions. This is where jobs theory gets really powerful because while jobs are often universal, the problems that people face when trying to get a job done, that's heavily influenced by their specific context. And that's why targeting specific customer segments can give you a huge advantage. So you can build a hyper-targeted, pain-killing solution that outperform more generic alternatives. So to zero in on your potential buyers, I want you to ask yourself some questions. Who might face unique struggles when trying to get this job done? So a high potential target market has similar traits. They're aware of the problem or they're feeling symptoms of the problem. It's much easier to sell to people who understand the problem than to try to educate them on the problem. They might face significant challenges in completing the job. And they might already be paying for other solutions, even if those solutions look completely different than what you're envisioning. So you're going to do a big brain dump to start, listing all the potential buyers that come to mind, and then you're going to narrow it down. If you already have a very specific target buyer that you serve in your business, that's okay. So you can use this exercise maybe to think about the different segments within that current market. So I want you to think contextually, consider environmental factors like their relationships, family status, location. You can also think about their age, their health, or trigger events, things that might cause them to want to make a purchase decision. For instance, going back to our 48-hour tooth whitening kit, people who want to brighten their smile, for an important event happening this week, what types of trigger events might those people have experienced? Well, maybe they're preparing for a presentation or keynote. Maybe they are newly single and going back on the dating scene. Maybe they are going to be having their picture taken. So they're brides or grad students getting new headshots. So understanding the trigger events can be a very interesting way to look at a particular segment of the market. And you also want to get specific when possible. So this is especially true when you're selling to businesses or other entrepreneurs. So don't just say small businesses or tech companies. Going broad will make it more difficult to get really clear on your buyer's unique problems and frustrations, which will make designing your offer a bit harder. So you could think about specific business models. You could think about specific types of businesses like dentists, pet stores. You could think about specific industries or people that have specific job titles or the stage and size of the company. So for instance, let me show you how might look like. When I created this workshop, I came up with, this job to be done, help me develop a new scalable revenue stream for my existing online business that sells. That's the job statement that I was working with. And I sat down and I designed and brainstormed a bunch of potential customer segments that I could target. And I just let my imagination go wild with this. And this is this whole big list that I came up with. And it included people like solopreneurs, freelancers, serial online businesses, business coaches, people who are in-house marketers who feel the pressure to kind of make a change and they want to like build a new revenue stream. There's a whole big list here. And doing this helped me to really think about a lot of different solutions. And then I did a gut check and I narrowed it down to like five that felt more like a hell yes to me. And those are the five that I narrowed it down to here. You might find that you see some persona here that looks more like your business, and that's intentional because I created this solution for people like y'all. And then I did another round of eliminations, this time being a bit more methodical. So I started by getting it down to just five. Then I said, okay, I'm going to look at these five segments and I'm going to rank them on key criteria. I'm going to think about their urgency, the segment's urgency to get the job done. I'll think about their willingness to pay, right? Are they willing and able to pay for a premium solution? I'm going to think about the segment's long-term value. So how much might they pay? Maybe they just pay once, but they pay a lot, or maybe they'd pay on an ongoing basis, right? And I'm going to think about the solution fit, the thing that I'm looking to design. How good of a fit is that for them? And finally, accessibility, meaning do I have access to this audience? Am I able to get my offer in front of them? Because ultimately, I could design something for, the CEOs of med tech companies, but I don't know any of those people. So it would probably be a hard job trying to get things in front of them. So accessibility matters too. And then through that, I was able to narrow it down to kind of my top three potential target markets. And I narrowed it down. I identified solo consultants. So these were, often marketing consultants, freelancers, people doing fractional work, traditional marketing agency and service agency owners. So people who are helping with ads, SEO, brand strategy, that sort of thing, and serial online entrepreneurs who are building a new venture. Those are my three target markets. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that only people like this could attend this workshop. There might be some of you that are saying, hey, none of those sound like me and I'm here. And that's okay. That's what happens, right? But by designing it with these particular people in mind and thinking about their challenges and problems that they struggled with in trying to get the job done, I was able to design a solution that was really, targeted and to fit for them. So, as I said before, high level jobs are often universal, but problems people face when trying to get the job done are contextual. So, by zeroing in on those three target customers, it's going to help you pinpoint some specific problems that they're struggling with and will pay to solve them. We're going to do that in the brainstorming exercise. So, first, let's do this exercise. This is the who are your potential buyers? You'll find a link to another GPT in your workbook. This is another special GPT just for this exercise. And you're going to, as you go through this exercise, it's a three-step exercise. First, you'll use Sparky to brainstorm a bunch of different buyers that you could serve, or you can just use your brain and brainstorm them yourself. But don't edit yourself. Just let your imagination flow. Come up with a nice long list, probably about 10. Then you're going to narrow it down, eliminate all but five segments, right? Just go with your gut. And then finally, you're going to rank the remaining five segments on those criteria points that I shared. And you're going to come up with three that have the highest ranking. And those are the three that we're going to explore in the brainstorming exercise. Rachel, I know it's very hard to use our brains when AI is here to assist us. It's quite a good brainstorming companion. Okay, so I'm going to start the timer. You're going to have 12 minutes for this one. We may not need the full 12 minutes. So I'm going to do a check-in at 8 minutes and see where people are at and if they need more time. Because I think I maybe was a little overzealous with the time for this one. You might not need all that. But I'm going to start it and we'll see where we're at. Okay, here we go. Do people still need more time for this exercise? If you do, just give a shout out that you need a few more minutes and we'll go for another couple of minutes. But if you're done, people say yes, yes. Okay, no problem. I'll check in again at 10 minutes. All right, y'all. So, time's up. How did that exercise go? Were the buyers you identified in the exercise the obvious choice you'd expected, or did anybody come back with something that was surprising? Maybe an audience that they hadn't considered previously. Fernando says both. Okay, cool. So when I went through this exercise, I did identify a few surprising ones that I hadn't considered, and it was very helpful. Mary says it was more specific than she expected. Great. Okay. Now it is time for my favorite part of the workshop. You've identified a few potential buying segments, and now we can dig deep into the problems that they face that are keeping them stuck. So we're going to do painstorming, which is my favorite part of this process. So this is where we're going to identify the specific obstacles that prevent people in our target markets from getting their jobs done. So remember, people pay to overcome problems, and those obstacles are problems that you can solve with your offer. And here is the golden rule of business. The more urgent painful and expensive the problems, the more people will often pay to solve those problems. So problems tend to fall into four categories. There are functional problems. So these are when things don't work as intended, processes are inefficient, systems are broken, or challenges when trying to get the job done. There are emotional problems, things like frustration, anxiety, or negative emotions that might arise when trying to get the job done. There are social problems. So these might be things related to perception or status with others when attempting to do the job. And then there are anticipated problems. So these are risks in the buyer's mind or things that could go wrong or potential negative outcomes related to the job. So when done right, painstorming feels like mind reading. You're going to know what your buyers struggle with, and digging into your buyer's problems is going to help inspire you to build pain-killing offers that people want to buy. So let's look at a very meta example. So I did a bunch of painstorming as I was designing this workshop, and I explored the pains felt by the three target buyers that I identified, and I found a bunch of different problems across all four problem categories. So looking at the functional problems, I noticed that, the solo consultants, they really struggled with time management. Managing multiple client projects while attempting to actually develop an offer for your own business is really hard. Can anybody relate to that? Not having a lot of time for this work? Meanwhile, traditional agency owners were often worried that they might launch something new that might cannibalize their current services. And that was a concern. And then there were emotional problems, right? Like people who were experienced serial entrepreneurs, they might have made mistakes in the past and they were afraid of repeating those mistakes. So that was holding them back from actually launching something new. So do any of these problems that show up here on this list feel like ones that you've run into when trying to create a new offer for your business? Let me know. Victoria asked if we can get the slides from day one. Absolutely, Victoria. Sure, we can. So these are all ones that people have experienced. So the problems are these like really juicy intel for product design because they are like will help you to figure out, well, what do I actually need to like design to help people to overcome these problems, right? And they're also massively valuable for your marketing because when you speak to the problems that your prospective customers have, they are more likely to resonate with your message and buy your stuff, which is why y'all are here. We talked about the problems you were experiencing. So not all problems though are weighted equally. Ultimately, as you explore the problems that are going to be generated for you here today, you want to be looking for fire problems. So a fire problem is one that occurs frequently, meaning that it occurs often or the symptoms of the problem are felt often. It's intensely painful, it really hurts. It requires fast action, it's expensive, and these are the types of problems that people are willing to pay premium prices to solve. So a few years ago, doing a painstorming exercise like you're about to do, it might have required you to get a couple different people together on your team to really brainstorm a whole pack of post-its. And not that I don't love brainstorming like that, I do, but it would require a lot of tedious thinking work. And us humans, we don't like thinking very hard. Our brains are often designed to kind of cut corners and jump to conclusions too quickly. So now, thanks to this bot, your old trusty pal Sparky, you're going to be doing this painstorming exercise and it's going to be so fast. So here's how it's going to work. You're going to look for the painstorming exercise in your workbook. And Sparky is going to need to have a few inputs from the exercise you did previously. He's going to ask you, what job do customers need to get done? And then he's going to ask, what potential buyers are you targeting? You can share, if you identified up to 3 buyers that you're interested in exploring, you can share all 3 of those. And he's not just going to take this information and then he's going to go out and scan the whole internet looking for actual problems that people are talking about and assumptions around those problems so that he can generate a whole list of problems for you to explore. And he'll highlight the fire problems, the ones that are particularly big opportunities, and he's going to identify problems that overlap between your 3 audiences. So you can end up designing a solution that might solve multiple audiences because they have some overlapping problems. So this exercise, the first part, probably only going to take you 1 minute to do. You'll get a big, long list. And if the problems that he comes back with feel broad and you're like, that doesn't really feel as compelling as I expected, then try reworking your job statement. Try adding more context to your job statement and then run it again, and you'll come back with probably even more specific, meaty problems. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to start a timer. You're going to have 7 minutes for this, and you're going to get the list of problems, and then you're going to look through your list and kind of take a focus on ones that are interesting to you, ones that maybe had you have an aha moment. Natasha's asking, would this framework work for a physical product? Thinking of a client project, I think absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it would. I think that I've used this for a number of different things. I think it would absolutely work for your client project. Cool. So I'm going to set the timer for 7 minutes, if unless somebody has a question. But this is my favorite part, and I'm really excited to hear about some of the problems that you discover in your painstorming exercise. So here goes. All right, y'all. How did it go? You did some brainstorming. Are you feeling good? Did you experience anything that made you feel like aha, like an aha moment? Was there a fire problem that really stood out to you? Or maybe a potential market that you go, ooh, they've got some problems I'm really excited to solve. Who wants to share some of their kind of takeaways from this exercise? You can pop them in the chat. Giselle says she had so many aha moments. That's wonderful. Anita, oh, Anita, you're here. I didn't see you before. Hi. I know Anita. I know many of you, but I know Anita like in the real. Tom says the business problem is focused, improve customer retention. I find niching on sectors becomes too narrow. So that's okay. Like one of the things that I talk about with the problem up method is that you don't necessarily need to niche on the sectors. You could niche on a specific challenge people have with retention. So maybe it could be if it was improve customer retention, there are particular types of businesses that do that differently, right? So you've got like obviously software companies, you've got D2C companies that sell subscriptions, you might have like service-based businesses. Those are three broad categories, but they probably have different problems when it comes to customer retention. So you might find that narrowing in is helpful when it comes to such diverse businesses, but you might not need to go more narrow than just, the broader segment. You might not need to say like, oh, I'm only going to focus on tech companies building in the like crypto space. Like, that's probably way too narrow. So focusing on the problem in your case makes a lot of sense. So yeah, you could focus on D2C subscriptions. That could be very broad, right? That could be anything from people who are selling vitamins to pet products, like, but D2C, at least so there's some similar factors. Anita said, don't be afraid to say, I don't like this, but to change that to XYZ, it gets results and that works better for you. Yeah, absolutely. So y'all, this was the first of two workshops. And for anybody who had an issue with completing these workshops, so they had their ChatGPT credits didn't work, I apologize about that. I'm going to add a note to the next workshop. The bots were supposed to default to 4.0, so I don't know why they went on to 5, but I'll look into seeing if there's something I can do aside from just better and clearer instructions. But let's talk about what you covered in today's workshop so far. So you've identified your underlying goal, right? You're clear on why you're making a change in your business. You then brainstormed offer ideas and narrowed it down to one idea to explore further. You identify the job your target customers are trying to get done. You identify potential target buyers who need to get that job done. And you did some rapid brainstorming to identify potential problems worth solving. So, in one word, how are you feeling after today's session? Just one word. What are you feeling right now? Ready. These are good words. Confident, energized, excited, motivated. Fantastic. So I love that there's a week between our workshops because it's going to give you some time to start like actually working on thinking about your offer in your head. And then when we come together next time, you're going to have let this ruminate a little bit and really get a sense of what your ideal offer might be. So it seems that Alex, interesting. That's ChatGPT makes changes so frequently. I was getting ready for this workshop last week, and I was able to decide what the default model was. So they made that change between now and last week, which is annoying. But you'll get an invite for the next workshop. Anna, you would have seen an invite for both workshops for when you got the confirmation email, but we will send out another reminder with a link to the Zoom as well. But if you go back to the email that you used to find this link, you'll find your second one there. And Megan's asking about access to the bots. These are your bots. You can use them anytime now. We don't plan on moving them or removing them, so don't worry about that. You have access. You can brainstorm other ideas too. So let's talk about your homework. So I have a little bit of homework for you. I want you to reread all the problems that Sparky identified, and you're going to make note of any aha moments that jump out to you as you explore these problems. So ask yourself, what patterns do you see across the problems? Which problems excite you? Do you have a unique point of view on how to solve any of these problems? And are there solutions that you're already are the problems that you're already solving, and maybe you don't even realize it. You can just package up a solution around things you're already doing. So take some time to evaluate the problems and make connections between what you're already doing in your business and where there might be new opportunities. And seeing these problems, it might even inspire you to go and refine your job statement. And if you refine your job statement and you run this exercise again, you'll be surprised. You might see very, more specific, more narrow and nuanced problems that can solve with your next solution. So in our first workshop, Chris realized that he was already solving a problem and he'd actually helped one of his clients to save millions of dollars. He just hadn't connected the dot yet that this is something he was solving for them and had it package it up into a breakthrough offer. This is what can come when you kind of start putting the pieces together. So when you truly understand the job your customers are trying to get done, you can design painkiller solutions that people are hungry to buy. And that's what we're going to do next week. So, Candace, don't worry. Next week, things are going to be fun. We're going to focus on coming up with offers ideas, and it will be about zenning it out, zenning it out. I'm going to drop a link to this workshop slide deck in the chat. And if anybody wants to grab the slide deck, you can. I know for Brad was he didn't have the ChatGPT stopped working, so this will allow you to then go through the exercise on your own once your credits get replenished. So I'm just going to I'm going to save it as a PDF and drop it in the chat. Okay. I've experienced being overwhelmed when it comes to making changes in my business too, and I'm actually in the process of making a bunch of changes right now. And I can tell you that the my favorite way to avoid overwhelm is to spend some time doing the strategic thinking, come up with a direction, and then take small actions to validate that I'm on the right path. And there's never going to be a time where you have perfect information. I wish that that were the case, but it's just not the reality in business. But you can absolutely get a good sense of like, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction, and then use your experiments to continue to find that you're on the right path. Michelle's asking when the next Unignorable will launch. That is a good question, Michelle, because it's not going to launch in the way that it did before. So we're really changing things up. The model is completely different. It will no longer be a group challenge. It's going to look quite different. It's going to be more like a productized service company. And we're going to be working specifically with our clients to help them figure out their ownable ideas, the things that they want to be known for in the market that will guide kind of their business. So I just dropped the file. It looks like it's still uploading, which might be why it's not there. It should be there. I'm just going to drop it again because it kind of went up in the chat. So just in case it's coming. Awesome. Okay, so unless there are any other questions, once that uploads, I'll let y'all get back to the rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just kind of let your brain process some of these problems because what we're going to do next week is we're going to narrow in on the problems that you're really uniquely ready to solve with your new offer. So instead of looking at all these problems, be like, how am I going to solve all of that? You don't need to solve all the problems. You shouldn't solve all the problems. If you do, you'll end up creating something that's big and, over bloated. And that's not what we want you to do. We want you to create something that's like really solves the right problems. I'm going to help you figure that out in the next workshop. January, what happens if the problems are quite calm but still a problem? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about that in the next workshop. So this one was all about exploring the problem space. Next week, we're going to start getting into the solution space. Yes, in the next workshop, we're going to be diving into what your offer design. That's the purpose of it. You're going to walk away with an offer idea flushed out that you're excited to test. All right. Thank you, y'all. Thank you so much for coming today. If you have any questions outside of this workshop, shoot me an email and I'll get back to you. And otherwise, I'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone.